And now, a News Center 3 special report with Frank Dobson and Chuck Taylor.
Our top story, as we all know, Congress recently approved paying over $1 trillion to African Americans as reparations for slavery. Well, today, the first checks were sent out. Wendy Mullen is standing by live in Queens with more. Wendy?
Thanks, Chuck. We spoke to a few of them earlier. Ladies, may we get a word?
Hide the money, y'all. There's poor people around. With your broke ass.
So, Chuck, as you can see, it's been a pretty amazing day. Back to you.
Wait, Wendy, let me get this straight. Why aren't there any banks in the ghetto?
Well, Chuck, that's because banks hate black people, but I think that's about to change. Back to you.
I bet you're right, Wendy.
Welcome back to Relatively Conscious. My name is Thomas Brown.
Irvin Bryant.
Shout out to DJ for making our beats.
At DW Made That.
And follow us on social media.
That's at Kinda Woke on Instagram and Twitter. Relatively Conscious everywhere else. Like, follow, subscribe, share it with somebody, and let us know in the comments. Is it time for reparations? How do we need to get them? Reparations. What's going on?
Yeah, so with the 100-year anniversary of the Tulsa riots, right? In the past year, I guess, you know what? I would say since Donald Trump became president, we start talking about reparations for real. It started on the far left. It's moved closer to the middle of the Democratic Party. And so basically, recently, Tulsa, Oklahoma City Council passed let me share my screen real quick. So Tulsa Reparations Coalition, the city council passed a bill basically to talk about reparations and figure out what they want to do. So they want to do direct payments of reparations to survivors of the 1921 Tulsa massacre.
Yes.
Direct payments of reparations to descendants of the survivors. A scholarship fund available to students affected by the massacre. Establishment of an economic development enterprise zone in the historical area of Greenwood District. This is where the famous Black Wall Street was. And then a memorial for the reburial of the remains of the victims of the race riots.
Okay.
And part of the write-up, they said they wanted to make sure they did tangible, drastic change to really address the issues caused by the riots. And in Chicago, we have a suburb of Chicago called Evanston, Illinois, which is just outside Chicago. In 2019, they passed a resolution in the city council to look at doing reparations for those affected by it, because it was to March 22nd. Up in Chicago, it was de facto segregation. So basically, where the banks don't give you a loan, and then the neighbors will make it very uncomfortable if you try to move here. Down here in the South, though, in Houston, we had the jure. So basically, if you live in 3rd Ward, Acres-Home, 5th Ward, that's where you live. Don't come out here to Katy. Don't come out here anywhere else. You live there, basically. And what they want to do is they want to give people $25K to use towards home ownership, home improvement, or mortgage assistance to qualified residents who either have lived in the district since 1919 to 1969, or are descendants of someone who lived in the district from 1919 to 1969. California also has gotten on the reparations train. So they have a task force to launch a study of slave reparations, right? And I think they gave them until 2023 to come back with a report, basically. That's the current governor has said, he wants them to do. And lastly, the African country in Namibia, Germany's going to pay for its genocide.
Reparations.
Reparations to the tune of $1.1 billion, right? Which is a lot, but also Germany paid the victims of the Holocaust, I want to say $63 billion. Yeah. So,
and that's ongoing and counting, right?
Ongoing and counting. Just recently, during the COVID-19 crisis, Germany gave them some more money, basically, because I guess Germany just keep paying for that, right?
Right.
And so here's my concern. So all these things I think I think we've discussed this before somewhat. Reparations, I believe, is a endeavor we should think about, basically, right?
Mm-hmm.
How we do it, there's other ways. That's more of a discussion.
Yeah, that's a discussion.
Yeah, the ideal of paying people back for the work or the loss of financial gain because of loss at the time, something we should do. And then, of course, we can get to people's response to that, because some people are going to stop right there and be like, nope, I'm not trying to do it at all. I wasn't the one who did that. I didn't own slaves. We're from Ireland. We got here. We don't own slaves, So my concern is that I feel like reparations is going to become the new CRT. So anyway, 619 Project gets written and wins a Pulitzer Prize.
Yes,
it becomes curriculum in a couple schools, California, some places in New York, somewhere like in Chicago, some places not here in the South. People in the South see that and immediately ban CRT.
This is true.
And so like CRT is shorthand for 1619 Project. It's shorthand for anything that is supposed to be not baseball, apple pie, America is great. And the move in Texas to ban CRT, I think is really detrimental, because teachers have gotten emails from administration. Do not play with us on this one. We will fire you. We know you have a teacher's
I'm not waiting for Karen to write me a concerned letter. I don't want the smoke. I don't want a lawsuit.
I'm doing it myself.
Do not mention whiteness. Which is interesting, because before in school, I don't know what the policy was. And I haven't gotten to the diversity portion. That's my next lesson in my teacher training that I'm doing online is diversity and inclusion, which I hate doing because I'm already black. I'm good. I already know what's up. But
I can tell you how many times I watched a portion of Remember the Titans. That's their favorite thing to do. They play Remember the Titans.
And you better not talk about it anymore after that.
Yeah.
Any mention, I'm talking about anything racial. Sometimes a white kid would actually make a funny racial joke. Most of the time it was horrible.
Yeah.
But in science class, we were done with the lesson, and they was like, we can watch Osmosis Jones. The movie about cells in the body. Biology class, 7th grade.
Mm-hmm.
White homie goes, it's funny because he's a white blood cell, but he acts like he's black. The character's played by Chris Rock. That's a funny joke. My teacher was like, no, you do not make racial jokes in this classroom.
Yeah, it was.
It's racial, but it was real. It was funny. It wasn't offensive. But in my day, turn of the century PC, and PC as the actual, de jure term.
Yes.
Color blindness. There you go. The age of color blindness. Especially, and this is Obama years.
Yeah.
When I'm in 7th grade, Obama years, color blindness, we don't talk about it. And all of a sudden you want to center it in our study of American history over my dead body.
Yeah. And so when I say they play Remember the Titans, there's 3 scenes Remember the Titans they play.
Straight up.
There is the scene where Denzel Washington gets a job over the white dude.
Yes.
There's the scene where they're all at practice and they start singing
Ain't No Mountain High Enough. Marvin Gaye and Tammy Terrell.
There's a scene where the nebulous white dudes come through and throw a brick through the window while Dakota Fanning, the white girl, is at his house, and it's supposed to be a scary scene. Yeah. And in the last scene is when Sunshine, when the homeboy comes visit Sunshine in the hospital, and he's black and Sunshine's white, and then the nurse is like, can't be here. He's like, can you tell he's my brother? Obviously, it's a scene they always show. Sunshine is one of
I forgot about that scene, and that really pisses me off.
Yeah, but they always show that scene because it has that line inside of it. And people are like, see, they call each other brother. Yeah. And I'm like, I guess. Yeah, he's a homie, I guess, but
the homie.
Yeah.
That's my nigga right there.
Yeah, but anyway, that's the most what we talked about when we talk about race. Now you want it to be a central discussion about whiteness, about slavery, our chief sin that I want to talk about at least. And I feel like reparations are coming down the same road, where a couple places where it is more socially acceptable to do these things. It's like California, where you can pass this bill. In Tulsa, the city council can pass this bill. It's not the state legislature of Oklahoma. This is Tulsa City Council is passing this bill. In Chicago, Germany is a very a state that had to pay for its sins Like
Right.
Germany did not exist after 1945. You know,
And now they're very progressive. I mean, as far as European powers, officially,
yeah,
they're very liberal now. Everybody's got their fascist bent. That's the fashionable thing now.
Yeah,
but Germany's still standing. You know, like they have not yet succumbed to their resurgence of Nazism and far right politics.
Yeah, you know, they've been a country since the 90s and they haven't decided to go to war with the world yet. You know, so but those places they can do that. But down here in Texas, I don't think there's any possibility of us ever just thinking about doing reparations. My concern is that, like you said, Texas is going to pass a bill where there talks about this in conservative circles, where you know tax money can't be spent on reparations. You know, and are my concerns valid, or am I looking for a boogeyman that's not there?
Your concerns are valid, but I mean, what are we supposed to do instead? Right, is the question, because I mean, Namibians are suffering, right? My people got decimated in the worst case, where reparations are due. And then you come to America and it's like, well, we understand if you wait long enough for to solve any of these problems. And America has done something over here, something over there to try to remedy the damage of systemic racism, blah 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 blah. But the longer you wait, the further you are away from it in history. The harder it is to people to agree to solve the problem, and the harder it is to actually solve the problem, because kind of like a butterfly effect, right? The farther you get away from the actual butterfly flapping its wing, the greater in magnitude the domino effect is. So butterfly flaps its wings on one side of the world, it's a hurricane on the other side of the world. You enslaved all these people 400 years ago, and then 400 years later, you have the ghetto, you have the trap. And of course, it's not a direct, not as simple as dominoes, but ultimately, this is where we end up. And the problems compound, they get more complex. You're dealing with mental health, physical health, different states having different laws. And of course, if you would have solved the problem in 1865, once we get a new amendments to the Constitution, if we just gave, and we did try to, right? So there's Freedom Bureau and all that, and lots of legal stuff. But if we could have maintained all of our efforts to uplift Black people from the poverty that slavery sets on us, we may not have had all the negative externalities that we live with now. If we didn't do the segregation thing, if we didn't do the Jim Crow thing, life would be very, very, very different. Right. But the further you get away from the original sin that puts us in this situation, the harder it is to solve, because it develops and mutates. Reasons why, an example, and you'll see why I kind of wince at my own making this argument. But with the Asians and the Japanese in particular, it wasn't long, at least comparatively, after Japanese internment camps where Japanese Americans did get reparations. They were paid money to relocate. They were paid money, for businesses lost and property lost and things of that nature. Not a perfect system, but immensely helpful to prevent that injustice from ballooning out of control. And so if we can act, I don't know if I believe in acting now, but the sooner the better is real. If you get a real solution now, if you a Band-Aid, it's not going to work. It can't help at all. But if you have a real solution to the problem and you do it now, it's better than doing it tomorrow when it may be.
My problem is that I don't think it's possible to do it now. So like my second question would be, how do we deal with
what's happening in the status quo?
I mean, it's happening
Illinois, Tulsa.
Okay, it's happening places like it's basically like it's happening in the home gym. So like the teams are making shots.
Tulsa, Oklahoma.
It's the city council.
You been there?
It's the city council in Tulsa, Oklahoma. That's like it's the place where it happened at. It's not the state legislator, and it hasn't they haven't got that far because they didn't even try to do that because they know what will happen when the state legislator in Oklahoma. Immediately, no, I'm not going to do that. Okay,
but tell me what. So we're just gonna look at it. We're just gonna look at the fallout and be like, dang.
Well, my second question is, how do you fight Republican opposition against this?
Also, and so to answer your question, I think the only way is to, and of course, these aren't universal reparations. So, I think one thing they're doing right and good, doing well, is event based, because those are the only real reparations we've been good at doing, right?
Yeah.
So, like, Japanese internment, singular event, small period of time, relatively. I know everybody who was there, even though, again, like, some people were overlooked and didn't get any kind of compensation. But it's very knowable, finite, and like I said, recent. And so we, as America, or any government, Germany, whatever, we did this 100 years ago. Boom. We did it. We know exactly who we did it to. Bloodshed, discrimination, whatever. This thing, because you can't. I mean, I don't know. It's hard to deny guilt that way when it's localized. It's it was Tulsa, it was Chicago, this particular neighborhood, these particular families,
these particular banks. These things like
right. So yeah, when you can narrow the blame, it's harder to shirk. It's harder. Yes. It wasn't me. And though many will, I wasn't there. I didn't do this. When you ask how do we do that, that's the most effective way we've ever done it. Because when we look at Native Americans, help is few and far in between, and really shoddy.
Yes.
Because it was a long time ago. Who did what? Wasn't me. Our demographics across the nation have changed drastically. Administrations changed drastically. I mean, we still want to call our sports teams, and have silly mascots that are racist.
Yeah.
Chief Wahoo was a whole thing. I'm glad we let it go. We let go of the Washington football team too. But it took that's just a name. Like, that's really just imagery, not even close to question. You got to do what they're doing. I think they're doing it, and they got the eyewitnesses too. That's another thing. You got the actual people involved to testify. And those are all the hardest things to deny.
My problem with public opposition, though, is that the way they figured out CRT was just kind of easy. It was just like I control schools, right? Like, I control the funding for schools. I control who gets hired at schools. Like schools are public. I control that good. And so, like, money, it's also another thing that I control. And so, like, I can stop you from using taxpayer dollars for doing X, Y, and Z. California can pay reparations, but like, what happens down here in the deep South, where the most harm was done, where the most amount of lynchings happened? Like, why, like, Waller County? Why would Waller County ever agree to, like, give PV any money? Because
they don't have to, though, and that's the key. Studying previous movements, for justice and liberation of Black people, where get smart. I mean, it's like I said, I applaud, and I think it's very cool, and I hope they do it well. What they're doing in Tulsa and Illinois and wherever else, to do events based, very that's very substantial. Like, because the reparations as a national conversation, I'm hesitant to have, because I don't want y'all to do sweeping. Everybody gets 40 acres and a mule in the U.S. that is Black. Don't talk to me ever again about reparations, because it's over and it's done with. Yeah, and you've spent all your political capital. You can screw it up. But these are really targeted, really specific, helping, this family who lost this replace. Like, that's harder to make a mistake on. And so there's that. And I think that's dope. But there's also, I live in Texas. I know y'all don't like Negroes. You never have. So what we're going to do is not call it that. Just not going to call it reparations. And Prairie View is 140 years old, 143 going on. Yeah. No, that's wrong. We're running up on 145. Regardless, super old. And what? Up
until the 80s, we weren't getting our money. So
right. No, but when we did get our money, it's not a matter of reparations.
Yeah.
Right. Our designation in the state, Prairie View A&M University designation in the state, was elevated to a different level because of our age and our importance to the foundation of the state of Texas. Boom. So it's not that black people have been done wrong. This is true, but I can't say it. And you got to play the game. So, but we're OG. So how about we get grandfathered into OG money? Sprinkle a little OG money, just a little bit, but it's something. And then we've grown from there. And then, we're so closely related to Texas A&M, the maroon one in College Station.
Right.
Let's make a tighter relationship there. Let's get buddy. They got a new chancellor over there. He's a real one. Let's discuss more money. I mean, it's ugly and it feels whack. And even I, for a period of time before I got more knowledge about it, was, they won't let us, there is no straight up emancipation, desegregation, equal rights bill for us, for our institution. And we're so broke and we're so down bad and we don't get the same money as the white people. And all these things are true, but it's just, that ain't real. So if you can grow up, which I did. Yeah. For me, I can personal story. I grew up and said, okay, you got to sneak it. And ignorant people like old Irvin, like young Irvin, like I used to be, won't see the blessings coming in, but I can get the hookup and eventually, or in one way or another, we can get some restorative justice going on. Because that's what's happening behind the scenes, but you literally can't say it out loud or everybody will get mad. But I'm just gonna do it. Like I can just give black people money. I just got to call it something else.
I mean, literally today we broke ground on a new engineering building at Prairie View University. So that university is constantly building new stuff. Yeah, like is never not under construction, building a new building, housing, research facility, whatever, because it's all overdue. It's just, don't tell them it's reparations. One thing I would say is that this is something that I found to be so irritating about Charlamagne and Guy, because he keeps coming up in this conversation. We was talking to Barack Obama. Yeah. And Obama was like, I passed Obamacare. Like, get out of my face. Yeah. Like, what do you do for black people?
Obviously, I love black people.
Yeah. And people was like, that's not what he did for us. But like, literally, we are the ones who benefit the most. We're the ones who were most likely not to have healthcare, the ones most likely to be denied by insurance because we have pre-existing conditions.
I mean, based on diet, based on poverty. Yes. The poor whites have just as many health problems. Of course, not the genetic ones, obviously, but they have a lot of health problems based on their diet and lifestyle.
Gout, diabetes, just like we do, high cholesterol.
Maybe poisoned by the water and nuclear radiation and black lung and all that kind of stuff. It's just not as many of them because, they weren't slaves. But all these problems occur. Yeah. And boom. It's not solved, but massive increase in the accessibility to healthcare. So much so that white people can't let it go, even though it's got Obama's name on it. Yes. They put Obama's name on it, and they're like, "Dang, bro, this stuff kind of good."
But they were like, "Nah, that's not Obama doing it for black people because it didn't have our name on it. It wasn't called." Which I find funny because it's called Obamacare. It's got a name on it. It's got a black man's name on it.
It is unmistakably Negro.
You're like, he did for us. It's there, right there. It's got a name. Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the things that people say, and this is not what they mean when they say this, but this is true, that black people at large need a better political education than what we get, which is hard. I mean, generally political education is low for everybody. Why?
I mean, what's called January 6th? If I see January 6th and I'm not American, I'm like, I feel like white people need a better political education.
Y'all obviously don't know how.
What's going on over there?
Hang like Pence, and it's like, what was he gonna do? So I mean, obviously we all do, but I mean, we do it to the point where, because like you said, you said it, people will straight up oppose. Like a lot of people.
Herschel Walker, the famous running back for the NFL. Every time we have this conversation about reparations, the Republicans love to bring his behind up there. Herschel Walker gets up there and says, "Well, I made it." He's a superhuman.
But no, let's bring it back. And this is it's an easy argument to deconstruct. Yeah, you can do that with literally anyone. But let's go. He's talking to the South.
Yeah.
But let's go to the Bible.
Oh yeah.
Moses made it.
Yeah.
It can't be that bad. He the prince.
Yeah. Joseph made it.
Look.
Esther made it.
He in the king's court. You feel me? He's a governor. Okay, so obviously it's not that bad.
Yeah,
I mean I don't understand. Seems like you're stopping yourself. You got a victim mentality. Yeah. I mean, you are an outlier, and that doesn't solve the fact that you have, and that is another argument that I really like. You have to be superhuman.
Yeah.
To be where you're at. Like Jay-Z and Beyonce are ridiculously talented at making music and entertaining people. And then Jay-Z is pretty good at business as well. So that's excellent for him. Yeah. And of course, Jay-Z doesn't make this argument. He doesn't act like systemic racism isn't real. But some would hold up Jay-Z and Beyonce and be like, well, see, they're black, making great money. And slavery did not stop them, in spite of, because he's ridiculously talented. That's the whole thing. Other people shouldn't be necessarily billionaires, but should have access to a better life without having the literal generational rapping talent to be able to defeat everybody in the game.
Rewind that back. He stabbed his own brother. First thing. Also,
he's a savage. He's so cracked to a pregnant lady. And it's not, and that's another reason why I think these reparations efforts are good. Events-based, targeted efforts of reparation, because some people, and this is the problem when we wait longer. Yeah. People make it. And of course, America has done its, gradual tweaking. Some on the very sly, it's reparations by a different name, which I like. Yeah. And some of them being the kind of half-hearted, I'll give you a little something forms of reparations.
Or some being, if you go to Afghanistan,
right?
I'll see you to school.
give me your life,
and
I'll give you a car and a college degree. So there you go. Fair trade. So the progress has happened. Yeah. Sometimes you love it, sometimes you like it, sometimes begrudgingly, whatever. And so, I grew up middle class. I don't necessarily need reparations. I went to PV, loved it, got a little bit, and I do mean a little bit, of government assistance, paying the student loans, and I gotta make it shake, blah 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 blah, for myself. I do not looking for a reparations check, because though the damage is real, we didn't done what we had to do as my lineage progressed down to me, for me to be in the situation that I'm in, and I'm gonna be in a situation I'm gonna be down the line where I don't necessarily need it, but the family where homeboy actually did to get lynched. Yeah, my grandfather saw the lynch mob, but by the grace of God, it wasn't him. But they was going to get somebody. Yeah, they descendants lost the breadwinner. They descendants lost family member, traumatized, whatever. Yeah, where their money at?
It's needed. It's I don't think black people need because the problem is that let's talk about some black representatives real quick. She Jackson Lee has this bill that she wants, the reparations bill, to have sort of reparations committee, and I'm just not here for it because I just don't think it's going to go very well. And she Jackson Lee's from Houston, and so some people want to do it on a national level. That's just not how you get it done. Because I think that it's the programs in the city that teaches Arthur Ashe how to play tennis. It's those things that make the difference between someone getting there and someone not. The programs that keep HISD schools open, and the magnet programs for the gifted and talented programs, the magnet programs and the gifted and talented programs, that's how you do it, because the last thing I would say is you don't give money to people who are not financially literate, because that would just end up in the money not being. Dave Chappelle has a sketch about this. I know most people don't like that sketch.
That's very funny.
But his sketch is it's not because Dave Chappelle is a comedic genius. And so when he does comedy, he's also social commentary at the same time. Why does homeboy say at least 500 record companies were created today? Yeah. Yeah. Why? Because that's a joke, but it's also
Chris Rock makes a similar joke. I don't know who made it first, but Chris Rock in a stand-up special, I think it was 2004, Bush era, making joke about reparations because he's y'all need to get it because y'all spit it on rims. Yeah. And what's really funny is none of these are real examples, but I think art is a good resource for judging how where the culture's at. In the beloved hood classic, John Singleton's Baby Boy.
Yeah,
Baby Boy starts making money, stops, gets a little bit of initiative about himself, starts making money selling stolen dresses, is what it is. Yeah. And he has 2 children that he doesn't see enough of, that he doesn't provide for. He lives with his mom and doesn't pay any bills, doesn't help out with anything. But with his money that he makes, he puts tints and rims on his girlfriend's car. It's not even his car. And that's not in the movie as a absurdist joke, because it's not in the movie because it's beyond reality. And I don't think so little of Black people that we're just going to get tints and rims and start record labels. But to your point, dumping money on anybody, I mean, it just doesn't work. You got to grow, like Prairie A&M University. A lot of people look at the contrast, but it's chartered in the same year as Texas A&M.
Yes,
and the growth level is different because of 100 years of oppression, obviously. But the money that is given to PV cannot, you can't take the 50 million annual allocation or whatever. It's something. It's more than that. But ridiculous. And that's when I say that's a portion of it's not a made up number. Yeah. But that's one piece of the formula that is going to Texas A&M on an annual level. $50 million, right? Yeah. We don't get that. It's not happening. You can't just take that and throw it onto the poor institution of any of the segregated institutions in the United States, because I literally don't even have the place to put it. I can't build 50 buildings at one time. I can't buy that much property and reasonably maintain it at one time. I can't enroll that many new students and hire that many professors at one time. That's unsustainable growth.
Yeah.
And so, unfortunately, slow and low is how you got to cook your roast. Is how you got to do your barbecue, and it'll get done.
I think it's promising. There's promising stuff on the horizon, and I hope what happens is that these commissions that that do the study of this, like one in California, we take the ideals, sprinkle, we change them for the South, and then we, slip them through.
Yeah. See, like I said, I disagree for the political expediency part.
Yeah.
And I think we need the real smart Black people, informed and trained and seasoned Black people and allies of any ethnicity, it doesn't really matter, to realize the covert nature and the value of not, I know that's the flavor of the day of being, I'm Black and I'm proud. This is reparations and I'm proud. But sometimes you got to sneak the medicine in and do it that way. And I mean, like I said, there was a massacre here. We're going to solve for the massacre. But if there isn't that, I'm scared.
My name's Brown.
Irvin Bryant.
Peace.